Afternoon, folks. Russell here, back at it once again. Another thrilling installment of Jeep Update Maintenance. Today, on this TJ Wrangler, we're going to be doing replacing the shock absorbers. I've already got one of the rears replaced. This is why we're replacing them, though. So, customer bought this vehicle. It already had a 2.5-inch lift kit on it, a rough country lift. I'm not going to badmouth the lift kit. It's pretty basic. It's springs and shocks. So I'm not going to badmouth the springs. I am going to badmouth rough country shocks. So if you're from rough country and you're watching this, I should not be able to do this with your premium shock. These are effing garbage. So we're going to put Bilsteins on it. I'm going to get the camera moved. I've already got one side done. And so in this video, we're going to be doing the rear shocks, bump stops, and the front shocks. So let's get started. What the? All right, to all you lazy people out there, when you do your lift kits, if you've got these springs off, change the bump stops. They're cheap, and the only way you can do them without a whole lot of work is to have the spring out. Fortunately, on the rears, you can actually get them out with the spring installed. On the front, we're going to have to remove the springs. All right. So bump stops replaced. Now we got to do the shock. Okay, you can just see the bolts for the upper shock mount. Now I sprayed these with penetrating oil overnight before I did this, but these have been replaced in the not too distant past, so they shouldn't be too tight. So the top bolts are 13 millimeter. The lower shock mount is an 18 and a 15. let's see. Let's see if this one's the same way. Yeah. Premium shock mount ASS. So my recommendation, anytime you do a lift kit, all right, and I don't care really whose springs you use, Rough Country, Skyjack, or Rubicon Express, BDS, I prefer BDS, Old Man Emu. Try and order the springs you need without the shocks, and then order the appropriate Bilstein shocks. The only exception might be if you go with an Old Man Emu lift. Their shocks are actually very well made. I have found that everybody else's shock absorbers, they don't make them. They're made by somebody else, and then there's stickers put on them. Those Rough Country shocks were made in Mexico by who knows who. I mean, even the sticker on it isn't lined up straight, so I wouldn't trust them. I always run Bilsteins where I can, when I can. They make a better shock, that's all. That's all there is to it. And they make their own shocks, and that's all they do is shocks. So they better make good shocks. And that's it as far as rear shocks go. I'm gonna put this tire back on and then we'll move to the front, and I'll demonstrate doing one side on the front. To do the bump stops on the front, I'm probably gonna have to drop it all the way and pull the spring out. We shall see. All right, at a minimum, to do the front shocks on the TJ, you can actually do the fronts without taking the wheel off, but so y'all can see better, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the wheel. The bottom mount on the front shocks of the TJ is identical to the top mount in the rear, where it's got a it's got the bar eye, the bolts go through. So The front mounts like this. Well, not exactly, you'll see. The mount's very similar. And as you can see, I put a transmission jack underneath the axle so that when I pull these bolts out, axle doesn't drop. Now I do want to drop the axle because I've got to get in here and get that bump stop replaced. But for now, let's get the shock out. God bless Ryobi. Just so that y'all can see where my frustration lies. This is the problem with doing just a spring and shock lift kit. They didn't get longer, sway bar disconnects, so I got to replace these. The fact that these are shorter, it's binding up the axle. I can't get the shock out. I won't be able to get the spring out. The way they got the spring out looks to me like they popped the track bar off. So I got to redo that cotter pin. That's all not right. Cotter pin on the pitman arm is not right. So I'm going to have to address that as well. We'll have to come back early tomorrow morning and knock this out. I'm going to have to put the weight back on the vehicle so I can get this sway bar disconnected and get it off. Because right now it's sprung. It's under load. So it's not going to disconnect. So we'll come back tomorrow morning and finish this. Yeah. This is why you leave this up to people that know what they're doing. It's frustrating. All right, morning folks, we're back at it again. We've got to get a spring compressor on here, pull the spring out so we can do the bump stop. And I got the spring compressor right here. Come on. Okay. Yeah. So, Jeep TJs and Jeep XJs have a coil spring retainer mounts on the axle so that the spring can't pop off the bottom of the perch at full flex. And we gotta take that off, then get this spring out. So now, let's try and get a good look at what we're pulling. Bump stop presses in up in here, and this one's just completely gone. So we're gonna dig it out. And that's what's left of it. That's what it's supposed to look like. And I usually spray a little silicone up in there and onto the bump stop. This helps slip them in. If you notice, there's a divot, and up in here is a bump. So you got to get it past that for it to stay. There we go. And now we put the spring back in. Which is easier said than done. Now we put our little retainer back in. And the lower spring seat on the axle's got a divot. Kind of tells you where the spring's supposed to go. So So I've got it seated in that divot, and we'll put the lock in. And then we'll release the spring pressure. Then we'll do this shock. That'll be it for this video. You don't need to see both sides. They both work the same way, same procedure. Both sides of the front as it is both sides of the rear. In a later video we'll discuss the sway bar end links. Alright, so we've already got the lower shock mount disconnected. I'm going to lower the vehicle some so I can get to this top mount, and then we'll replace this shock, and this side will be done. All right. What is this? Rough Country Premium Shock Absorber N3. Right? I don't know if y'all can notice how the sticker's crooked on there. Made in Mexico. I have no idea who makes this shock, but I mean, they're gas charged and they come back out, but the damping rate on them is ridiculously low. I'm not pulling very hard. I mean, I can close it up pretty quick. That's a terrible damping rate. That's why we're putting Bilsteins in it. Simple enough. We'll put it in. Installation's reversal removal. when putting Bilstein dampers in, the center of the shaft is set for a 5mm Allen so that you can hold it while you tighten it down. And then it's just a matter of putting the lower bolts in. And in the front, bolts come in from the top, 2 nuts go on the bottom. This is identical whether it's a TJ or an XJ. And that's all there is to it. Like I said, procedure's identical on the right side as it is the left. This is the same procedure on the front as you would do on an XJ or a TJ. And to recap, in this video we did rear shocks and bump stops on this TJ, front shocks and bump stops on this TJ as well. To do the fronts, you got to take this spring out. There's no other way around it. If you like this content, go ahead and like, hit subscribe, hit that bell icon for future notifications. In the next video, we're going to do the sway bar end links and the steering damper, so stay tuned for that. As always, there's more to follow.